Hello, it's Phillip Taylor. I'm talking from Richmond Green Chambers about the Green Book, which is here. I've done a short introductory review of the book showing what it is, but let's look at it in a bit more detail. The review title I've given this is, all I can say is, run out and get your Green Book now, because the new edition's out, end of March 2009. This is it. Volume 1, Volume 2, the CD, some civil news, the usual other stuff with the forms, and I've done a little Flickr review as well, and it's now appearing on all the Amazon sites and a large number of other internet sites. Let me talk a little bit about the book, because we've got some changes that are taking place. What I've started off by saying is the following, that it's basically essential in the practitioner's library, and it's indispensable for members of the judiciary, whether they're in the High Court or the County Court. And the Civil Court Practice 2009, which we know as the Green Book, we all know it from student days probably as well, is now out in the brand new edition, and here it is. Now we have to really look and see what is different this year from previous years. Well, there are some reasons why we have to think of the future. It's in 2 volumes as usual, plus the hefty volume of forms, which I've just indicated, which of course are now available on the internet, and an accompanying CD. So the new Green Book emerges into an economic landscape which is markedly different from that of 2008. And the preface, which is here, it actually dryly states a number of points which I think are worth bearing in mind because of the downturn globally with the economy. It's the following. We live in an interesting time in which, for example, the special account rate, formerly the short-term investment account, has fallen from 6% to 3% from the 1st of February 2009. Probably a significant indicator, you might think, that the credit crunch has well and truly taken hold. Now, at the time of writing and presenting this, which is just after Easter in 2009, some 3 months further on, the base rate has plummeted now to almost 0. And we've heard the latest levels, which have now stabilised at 0.5%. Battling against the perplexities, therefore, of a changed economic environment, practitioners and litigants alike will continue, I think, to be grateful for the Green Book's solid, reassuring, reliable and absolutely definitive voice of authority in this atmosphere of uncertainty. And I think that colours the issues very nicely. The practice, in the words of the editors, is, quote, the essential guide to bringing, defending and appealing proceedings on all 3 litigation tracks, adding that this prodigiously thorough and authoritative work does just that. It's interesting that it's also intended for those who, in increasing numbers, are conducting their cases without legal representation. Those are the words of the editors. Now, we've got some problems here, obviously, because to my knowledge this is likely the first time that this is one of the main openly stated aims of the editors of the Green Book, which is to provide a handbook that's suitable for DIY as well as legal practice. DIY as well as legal practice? Well, I never. It's not something I feel too comfortable with, I must confess. But on reflection, I'm pleased that the Green Book is being presented as a user-friendly work, which basically it is, once you get used to it. I remember the previous incarnation prior to CPR, as many will do, so you know what I'm talking about. Therefore, it's appropriate and right that the rules of civil practice be accessible to ordinary litigants. They are, after all, entitled to represent themselves in court if they so wish, although I can't see that this is being wildly popular, either with most of the judiciary or with some of my fellow practitioners, as a little knowledge, in my view, can be a dangerous thing. and quite often, as we all know, the proceedings extend an incredibly lengthy period of time when this happens. However, when one recalls the dictum, which I cannot entirely agree with, that ignorance of the law is no excuse, the Green Book is out there to at least partially alleviate the ignorance, and is available to all via the publishers or your local legal bookshop, of course in person and online, and libraries have it. Most reference libraries will have a copy of this if you ask. So, far from being the exclusive preserve of the august legal profession, the Green Book is accessible now to anyone willing to read, note and learn from it, as long as you can understand how it's structured, and that actually is quite difficult to navigate. And it, being quite blunt about it, that's the same with all main practitioner books, because you've got to know the knack of how to get round it. This book, however, in its various parts, is logically structured, and the work's divided into 3 parts, with part 1 dealing with rules and procedure, part 2 with the general jurisdiction of the courts, and part 3 with the specialist jurisdiction of the courts under appropriate titles arranged alphabetically. Such features as paragraph numbering, index, shaded sections and edge marks are all designed for simplicity and ease of navigation. You can see that from the sides of the books here, and in fact once you get used to it, it's okay, but it's the early days which is the problem. For those new to the Green Book, or those who need reminding, there is a how to use section, and for quick reference to the most recent changes in the law, as at the beginning of March 2009, look at the developments since October 2008 edition, which is contained here, and that will give you a flavour of what's happening. You've also got this, which gives you the much more up-to-date stuff too. As in all previous editions, the civil court practice has an editorial team under the excellent guidance of Lord Neuberger, and it's provided what is described rightly as a comprehensive guidance in as clear as possible a way. And they've amply succeeded, in my view, in the aim, which is obviously what they wanted to do all the way through, and I'm sure they will continue to do. As I say, I started with this book when I did the bar vocational course, and I've always kept with it. I have a sort of fondness for it, if you like, whereas I found the white book even more difficult, but that's another story. So let me just finish off by saying that General Editor P.K.J. Thompson, Queen's Counsel, adds a final note in the preface, which I think is worth bearing in mind, about the new Supreme Court, which is not here yet, although the building is now, if you go down there. And nevertheless, subscribers to this edition, this is the 2009 one, have been promised, quote, a special supplement in the summer, which will contain all they will need to know about the practice and procedure of our new and highest court, which will take over the judicial functions of the House of Lords on the 1st of October, beginning of the new legal year. Now, according to what we have outside the front of the new court, it's going to be called the United Kingdom Supreme Court. Now, we'll have to see what happens, obviously, later in the year, but we've got a lot to look forward to, and I can say that as this year is run out, get your Green Book immediately, because clearly it's something where we're at the beginning of a new era with what we're doing. This is your solid reference material. I love it, and I'm really glad we got a new edition. So thank you all, the huge number of people involved, for the splendid work you've done. Thank you. Bye-bye.